Alright. So before I begin talking about Dandandan, I do want to talk to you about something else that's kind of related to this. It's the X-Files. If you haven't seen the X-Files or heard about this show, I really don't know how. Then again, this is a pretty old show that was made back in the late 90s. Essentially, the plot follows two FBI agents, Agent Scully and Agent Mulder. Agent Mulder is more on the conspiracy type of things. He believes more into like UFOs, cryptics, aliens. He's like the kind of guy everyone would view as kind of crazy, while Agent Molly is more on the like rational type of opinion. She values like scientific methods. She values like rationalize things like, oh, that can't be real, there's no proof behind it. She's that type of person. Essentially, these two characters, these two FBI agents, go around solving cases that involve cryptics, UFOs, monsters, serial killers, government conspiracies, terrorism, all that kind of stuff. It's a really fascinating show that delves deep, and it has a consistent storyline throughout its season. It is really deep. Like, if you're a conspiracy theorist, then you're gonna love the show. If you somehow have not seen the X-Files, you really have to. It's really one of the best like shows that came out in the late 90s, as far as my personal opinion goes, because I'm kind of like on the conspiracy theorist type of guy. Like, I'm really into UFOs, cryptics, all that kind of stuff. Like, some of the things that they go out and investigate, it's really fascinating, and it gets you thinking, what if this is kind of based in reality? Sure, some conspiracy theories are kind of really out there and really far-fetched, but some of them are kind of hit close to home. Some of them seem like they could almost be a possibility. It is fascinating to see these two agents go around solving mysteries and then like going into the danger. Like, they get into some deep trouble when they go down the rabbit hole. They investigate and they find things they probably shouldn't be finding, and it's a really good show. I highly suggest go watch the X-Files for yourselves. It's a really good show. It's really fascinating. With that being said, Dandandan. Why does the X-Files relate to Dandandan? Well, let me get into that because it's pretty fascinating, if I'm being honest. Dandandan essentially follows the same plot line of the X-Files, but think about like the X-Files, but times 22, and add a mix of Scooby-Doo, and you get like Dandandan. It's basically like Scooby-Doo and the X-Files, but on crack, times 20, but with superpowers. It is really crazy. And when I meant it's basically the same plot as the X-Files, it's because it essentially follows two characters similar to Agent Scully and Agent Mulder. Yeah, Agent Scully and Agent Mulder. You get Okarun. He's basically the conspiracy guy who believes in UFOs but refuses to believe in any supernatural type of stuff, which involves like ghosts or spirits or stuff like that. While Momo essentially believes in the supernatural type of things, which involves yokai, the Japanese term for ghosts, spirits, whatever the case is. But she refuses to acknowledge anything otherworldly, anything extraterrestrial, until one day they encounter each other by chance. They just bump into each other and they get involved in some shenanigans. They get involved into like a dare that one of them is going to go investigate UFOs, one of them is going to go investigate ghosts, and they actually do end up encountering them. Okarun ends up encountering Turbo Granny. She's basically like a speedster type of ghost, while Momo ends up encountering these strange like clone-like aliens, which not the clones from Star Wars, but like these clone guys. Like, they are really creepy. And in the end of the chapter, basically Okarun ends up losing his balls. Yes, you heard me, his balls, while Momo, yes, ends up losing her clothes. It is a really insane chapter. Like, a lot of stuff ends up happening in just the first chapter of this series, which honestly, it really got me hooked instantly. Like, this is one of those series, like, it's a really rare series where I get like hooked instantly from like the first chapter of like a series. Most series I tend to give them like 6-7 chapters for me to get like really invested in. Like Kaiju number 8, it took me about like 7 chapters to really get invested into it. But with Dandandan, from like the very beginning, like the first chapter, I got invested right in, because it's really fascinating. If you like the X-Files, you're really gonna like this, because it involves a lot of supernatural stuff. It involves a lot of otherworldly extraterrestrial things, and really blends like folklore and like conspiracy theories all into one thing. Like it references a lot of conspiracy theories and a lot of ghosts, supernatural events that have happened, supposedly happened in our world in this series. And I gotta say, it is pretty fascinating. The storytelling behind the characters like Okarun and Momo, like their adventures as they go, they end up encountering other characters such as Vamola, the one-eyed. You end up getting Turbo Granny. I don't want to spoil too much about her, but yeah, I don't want to spoil too much about her. She's a really fascinating character. And then you get Momo's grandma, and then you get a bunch of other characters. Like, there is so much happening within this series. I really can't say one thing without spoiling another. Each character really brings something unique to the table, whether their personality, whether like stuff to the plot. They are really fascinating. If I had to pick like one character that I really enjoy, like, I gotta say Vamola. Vamola to me is space Yotsuba. She's a really cool character. She basically, like, her ability, she like transforms into like a giant kaiju, and like it is really crazy. To me, she's like best girl. I really like her character design, and her story, her backstory is really tragic. It is pretty fascinating. Like, to list a few of the characters, you got like Okarun, you got Momo, you got Ayase, basically Momo's grandma, you got Evola, you got Ira, you got Turbo Granny, you got Gigi, you got Vamola. Like I said, Vamola is best girl. Like, there's a lot of cool characters involved in this story. They all have like their unique strengths and weaknesses. Like, I probably missed a few characters, but they're all pretty fascinating, and I really don't want to say too much about one character or another, because I feel like I'm gonna spoil too much about like the storyline and what happens within them. Like, some of these storylines involved like in this series are crazy. Some of them are self-centered, while some of them like extend throughout the entire series. And the way this series is going, I don't see it ending for like a good wow. We're like 127 chapters, and it's really good. It is really good. One of my favorite things about this series is probably the art style. And you know what's crazy? The fact that this series drops every week and the art style continues to be a banger. It continues to be really crazy. It's so out there. I don't know how the artist, how the creator consistently puts out a banger each chapter. Sure, some of the chapters are like dialogue, but when the author decides to drop like full battle scenes of chapters, they are really good. Some of the fight scenes in like this manga series, they are really entertaining. They are really good. And then you got like references to a lot of like pop culture, aliens, ghosts, and all that cool stuff. It is really fascinating. To say Dandandan is like kind of underappreciated, to say it's kind of underrated, I gotta say, it's really true. It's criminally underappreciated. It's a really good manga series that not too many people talk about, and I really wish like more people will talk about it. But if there's one good thing about this series, is that it might actually be getting an anime series. I believe it was actually confirmed it was going to be getting an anime adaptation, and at Jump Festa 2023, I believe they are going to be announcing an anime. It's not confirmed or not if they are actually going to be announcing, but it did say that Dandandan is going to be on the Jump Festa list. Basically, Jump Festa is like that big Japanese event where they announce a lot of new like anime, a lot of new manga series. So be on the lookout. That's going to be happening in December. I'll be covering like events, any news related to Dandandan, what things are going to be announcing. But I'm really excited to see like if this series gets an anime, and by who. To me, the studio I would say who could do a good job with Dandandan animating would have to be Studio Bones, in my opinion. It's either Studio Bones or Studio Trigger. I honestly could see Studio Trigger like doing such a fantastic job with this series, because it's so crazy, and like, I don't know, I just can see it. But to me, Studio Bones is probably like the best company, the best animation team, the best like studio to develop this series. But that's just my opinion. And whether or not you have read Dandandan or not, give me your takes on it. Do you enjoy this series? Do you like how crazy, how goofy it is at times? Because to me, I absolutely adore it. The only reason I got into the series was just because my friend recommended it to me. He thought it was something I would enjoy, and I gotta say thank you for recommending me this. Is one of my favorite series ever. It is really cool. With that being said, that's just my video on Dandandan. So what did you think of this series? Do you like it? Do you like the current art? Who is your favorite character? Who is your favorite girl from Dandandan? And if there's an anime announcement, are you excited? Because for me, I absolutely am. Anyways, that being said, I'll catch you guys on my next one. Peace.